Some betrayals are like lightning, loud, fast, impossible to miss. Others hide in plain sight, wearing your brother's smile. My name's Daniel Reed. I'm 41, the kind of guy people call steady. I've got the same haircut I've had since my 20s, the same brand of boots I've worn since high school, and the same coffee mug I've been drinking from for at least a decade. I live just outside of Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, in a brick one-story with a porch swing that creaks on windy days. The garage is half workbench, half graveyard for half-finished projects, and the backyard's big enough for Rusty, our golden retriever, to feel like a king. I work in construction. Mostly home renovations and the occasional small business job, kitchens, decks, roofing. I like work where you can see the difference you've made by the end of the day. There's a kind of satisfaction in driving past a house and thinking, yeah, I built that porch. Those people have coffee out there every morning because of me. Melissa, my wife, is a high school counselor. She's good at it, too, the kind of woman who can talk to a stubborn teenager without making them shut down. We met 15 years ago at a mutual friend's barbecue. She had on a sundress, yellow, with her hair tied back, and she laughed at a dumb joke I made about overcooked burgers. We've been together ever since. 14 years married. No kids, by choice. Just us, Rusty, and our routines. And then there's Aaron. My younger brother. 3 years my junior, but you wouldn't know it to look at him. He's got that easy charm, the kind that works on bartenders, bank tellers, and bosses. People like Aaron right away. Always have. He works in sales, outgoing, talkative, always with a new story about some client or deal. He's the guy you want at your party, because he'll get everyone talking. The three of us, me, Melissa, and Aaron, have always been close. Melissa and Aaron get along like old friends. He's over for dinner a couple times a month. Sometimes we all go out to the bar on Main Street for trivia night. It's never been weird. Not once. Our life was quiet. Predictable in a way I thought was a good thing. Saturdays were for chores, then maybe a drive out to the farmer's market. Sundays were slow mornings and big breakfasts, Melissa's pancakes, my bacon. Evenings on the porch swing when the weather was good. We'd wave to neighbors, sip iced tea, talk about little things like paint colors and whether or not we should get a second dog. And then there were her girls' nights. Once every couple of weeks, Melissa would get dressed up, not over the top, but nicer than usual, and head out with friends from work. She'd come back late, sometimes smelling faintly of wine and perfume, cheeks a little flushed. I never thought twice about it. Why would I? Aaron, too, had his own social life. But sometimes, he'd stop by after work. Just a quick beer in the garage, talking about the latest Phillies game or the new fishing spot he'd found. Life had a rhythm. Steady. Safe. But rhythms can hide a lot. The first time something tugged at me, it was so small I almost let it go. It was a Thursday. Melissa came home later than usual from the school, saying she'd stayed to help a student with college applications. She dropped her purse on the counter, kissed me hello, and headed upstairs to shower. I went to grab my hoodie off the back of a chair and noticed her phone lighting up. A message. From Aaron. It was just, got home okay? Winking face. The wink bothered me. Not in a full alarm bells kind of way, just in a file that away in the back of your mind way. Brothers-in-law joke around, sure. But Aaron wasn't the emoji type. When she came back downstairs, I didn't mention it. A week later, there was the perfume. Aaron, showed up at the house one evening to help me fix the latch on the shed door. He smelled faintly like Melissa's perfume. I noticed it when we were both crouched down, working the hinge. Again, nothing huge. But enough to make me pause. You got a date tonight? I asked, half joking. He grinned. Something like that. I told myself I was being paranoid. People share scents all the time. Hugs, handshakes, borrowed jackets. But the seed was planted. Then came the night that stayed with me. Melissa had one of her girls' nights scheduled. She kissed me goodbye, told me not to wait up. I settled in with a pizza and the Flyers game. Around 10:30, my phone buzzed. It was a text from Aaron. A phishing meme. Something dumb. But underneath it, the location tag caught my eye, the Brookside Inn. Not a bar in town. Not a restaurant her friends frequented. The Brookside was out near the highway, about 20 minutes away. Quiet place, dim lighting, booths tucked away from view. It wasn't where I pictured a group of high school counselors going for wine night. My gut tightened. I sat there staring at the screen for a long time. Then I locked the phone, put it face down, and stared at the TV without seeing it. The thing about suspicion is, once it's there, you start noticing everything. Melissa's smile when she came home that night, it looked different. Softer, somehow. And when she kissed me goodnight, there was the faintest trace of cologne I didn't own. I didn't say anything. Not yet. But I made a quiet promise to myself, lying there in the dark with Rusty curled at my feet. I was going to find out the truth. And when I did, I wasn't going to be the one who ended up broken. I didn't jump straight into confrontation. That's what people in movies do, storm in, demand answers, and then walk out with their heart in pieces. I wanted something else. I wanted certainty. I wanted leverage. The first step was simple, observation. Melissa's schedule was easy enough to track. She left for work at 7:15, came home around 4, unless there was a meeting or one of her girls' nights. Aaron's work hours were more fluid, sales calls, client dinners, meetings that could pop up anywhere. Perfect for someone who didn't want to be pinned down. So I started making mental notes. If Melissa had a night out, I'd make an excuse to swing by Aaron Street on the way home from a job. Not once did I see her car there, he was too smart for that, but twice I spotted his truck parked in a lot near the Brookside Inn. Once in the middle of a Wednesday afternoon. Then came the phone. Melissa had always been casual with hers, left it on counters, on the coffee table, wherever. Lately, it started following her from room to room. She kept it screened down. Turned the ringer off more often. One Saturday, she was in the shower when a text lit up the screen. It was from Aaron. Miss you already. I didn't touch it. Didn't need to. The words burned themselves into my mind without help. When she came out, I asked how her lunch with Jenna went. She smiled, said it was great, and kissed me on the cheek. I kissed her back, thinking about how many times that same mouth had probably kissed my brother. The thing about anger is, if you keep it contained, it starts to sharpen. By the time I called Mark, a buddy of mine who did odd jobs in security, I knew exactly what I was asking for. Couple of small cameras, I said. Nothing crazy. Motion activated. Quiet. I put one in the garage, Aaron's favorite place to grab a beer and catch up with me. One in the living room, high in the corner, looking down on the couch. One in the guest room, where no guest had stayed in over a year. It wasn't about catching them in the act right there in my house, though I wasn't ruling it out. It was about pattern. About proof. 2 weeks later, I had it. Not video. Not yet. But audio. Melissa had left for what she called a planning meeting after school. Around 6:15, Aaron's voice popped up in the garage feed. Laughing. Talking low. Melissa's voice with him. And then the unmistakable sound of a kiss. I played it 3 times. Rusty watched me from his bed, head tilted like he knew something was wrong. That night, lying next to Melissa while she slept, I felt something shift inside me. Not the hurt, I'd already felt that. This was something colder. Cleaner. I wasn't just going to leave her. I was going to take something from her, the way she'd taken from me. And I knew exactly where to start. First, I made sure they still thought I was in the dark. At home, I was the same old Dan, asking Melissa about her day, joking with Aaron when we crossed paths. I even invited him over for a Sunday barbecue. They were tense around each other at first, probably wondering if I knew. I made sure to laugh a little louder, talk a little longer, pour them both another drink. Nothing puts a cheater more at ease than believing you're a fool. The second part was information. You can't take someone apart if you don't know exactly where they're weakest. Melissa's weakness wasn't money. She had her own income, her own savings. Her weakness was reputation. She prided herself on being the good one, the steady, trustworthy counselor everyone in town respected. The woman parents sent their kids to for guidance. Aaron's weakness? Ego. Everything he did revolved around being the guy people admired, envied, or wanted to be around. Take that away, and he'd start to unravel fast. Mark, my buddy in security, owed me a favor from a big deck job I'd helped him with. I asked if he could get me something a little more sophisticated this time, hidden GPS trackers for both Melissa's car and Aaron's truck. Within 3 days, I knew their meeting spots. Within a week, I knew their schedules better than they did. The Brookside Inn. A little rental cabin upstate, registered under a fake name. And once, this one stung, a park where Melissa and I used to walk Rusty on Sundays. I kept my cool. But each piece of information went into a file. Photos, timestamps, audio clips. Enough to burn both their lives down if I dropped it in the right places. Then came step 3, allies. I wasn't going to drag friends or family into this outright, but a few well-placed conversations went a long way. A casual chat with a fellow contractor whose wife worked at the school. A beer with an old friend who happened to golf with Aaron's biggest client. Just enough to plant seeds. Nothing direct. Not yet. By mid-March, I was ready. I had the kind of proof you can't explain away. And I had a plan for delivering it that would hit them both exactly where it hurt the most, publicly, and with no way to pin it on me. All I had to do was wait for the right moment. And as luck would have it, the perfect opportunity fell right into my lap. Melissa's school was hosting its annual Community Excellence Dinner, a big to-do with parents, local officials, and media coverage. She was set to receive an award for outstanding service and integrity. Aaron had already RSVP'd as my +1. It was almost too perfect. That night, as Melissa sat across from me at the dinner table, going over her outfit plans for the event, I smiled and reached for her hand. "That's a big night for you, huh?" I said. She smiled, a little proud. "It is. Means a lot to be recognized." I squeezed her hand gently. "Then we should make sure everyone sees just how special you are." And in my head, I could already picture it, the photos, the whispers, the moment her world cracked open in the same way she'd cracked mine. The night of the Community Excellence Dinner, I played my role to perfection. Suit pressed, shoes shined, smile easy. Melissa looked radiant, navy blue dress, hair curled just enough to look effortless. She kissed my cheek before we left, smelling faintly of the same perfume I'd caught on Aaron's shirt weeks ago. I drove. Aaron was meeting us there, or so Melissa said. We arrived at the banquet hall just before 7. The place was buzzing, teachers, parents, school board members, even the mayor. Melissa moved through the crowd like she owned it, shaking hands, laughing, leaning in for those little shoulder touches people do when they want to seem warm. I kept my hand at the small of her back, smiling like a man in love. What she didn't know was that my phone, resting in my jacket pocket, was loaded with a slideshow. Not of vacation photos. Not of family memories. But of every timestamp, every picture, every audio clip of her and Aaron together. Neatly labeled. Chronologically arranged. Undeniable. At 7:15, the school principal took the stage to start the program. I slipped away to the AV table at the back, where I'd already arranged a little technical help with the projection equipment. Mark had come through again, 2 clicks, and whatever was on my phone could be mirrored to the giant screen behind the stage. Melissa's category was near the end. That gave me time. I found Aaron first. He was at the bar, charming a couple of teachers I recognized from Melissa's school. I greeted him like nothing was wrong, clapped him on the shoulder, ordered a whiskey. "Glad you could make it," I said. "Wouldn't miss it," he grinned. I bet he meant it. When Melissa's name was called, she walked to the stage to applause. She looked out at the crowd, proud, confident, soaking in the moment. She started her little thank you speech, about the importance of trust, integrity, being a role model. And then I tapped my phone screen. The projector flickered. The first image was of Melissa and Aaron in the Brookside Inn parking lot, kissing. Date and time stamped in bold. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Melissa froze mid-sentence. Click. A video clip of their voices in the garage, laughing, whispering, the sound of that kiss. Click. A shot of them walking into the rental cabin, holding hands. The room went dead silent except for the hum of the projector. Melissa's face drained of color. Aaron was halfway out of his chair, his eyes locked on me across the room. I just stood there at the back, calm as you please, hands in my pockets. I let it run just long enough for the message to be clear, no mistake, no, this could be someone else. Then I shut it down. Melissa stumbled through the rest of her speech, if you could call it that, and hurried off stage. People were already whispering, phones out. Aaron disappeared into the crowd. I walked out into the cool night air, loosened my tie, and took a long breath. By the time I got home, Melissa's car was gone. I didn't care where she went. What mattered was that the mask was off. Not just for me. For everyone. Melissa didn't come home that night. She didn't come home the next night either. When she finally showed up 3 days later, it was only to pick up her clothes and a few personal items. We didn't talk. She left the house key on the table without looking at me. I didn't chase after her. I didn't need to. The divorce went smoothly. My lawyer had all the necessary documents. Melissa's lawyer insisted on the confidentiality of the process, but the damage had already been done. By the time we sat down at the negotiating table, she was just a shadow of the woman who once walked into rooms as if they belonged to her. She kept the car, most of her personal savings, and the right to her last name. I kept the house, Rusty, and every ounce of my dignity. Aaron wasn't much luckier. Rumors about the dinner spread faster than I could have imagined. His biggest client dropped him within a week. Several smaller clients followed suit. Soon he was barely able to pay his bills. I learned from a mutual friend that Melissa had moved in with him for a while. It didn't last long. I guess betrayal isn't so sweet when you eat it for breakfast every day. And me? I changed. The house got a fresh coat of paint, both inside and out. I removed the latch on the shed that Aaron had helped fix and replaced it myself. I bought a new bed, one that Melissa had never touched. I started dating again. Slowly. Carefully. I wasn't looking for love, I was just learning to enjoy my own company in the presence of someone else. And I traveled. Not far at first, weekends in the Poconos, a few days of fishing in Maine. I sent my friends a photo or two, always with Rusty in the picture. People said I looked happier. Lighter. They were right. From time to time, I saw Melissa in town. At the grocery store, driving by in her car. She would glance at me, then look away. She had aged in a way that had nothing to do with her age. Aaron? I don't remember the last time I saw him. The last I heard, he moved 2 states away to start over. I wish him happiness. Or maybe not. One evening, almost a year after the dinner, I was sitting on the porch swing with a beer in my hand, and Rusty was curled up at my feet. The air smelled of freshly cut grass, and the street was quiet except for the chirping of crickets. I thought about everything that had happened, the discovery, the planning, the night when it all fell apart. People always talk about revenge as something dangerous, poisonous, something that eats you alive. They're wrong. It's not revenge that kills you. It's holding it back. I let mine out, pure and sharp, and when it was over, I didn't feel empty. I felt full. I took another sip of beer, leaned back, and smiled to myself. Because the truth is, I won. And they will remember that for the rest of their lives. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe.